1874, the Women's Christian Temperance Union is formed. It was organized by the women determined to act against the ravages of alcohol. They began by meeting in churches to pray and then marching to the saloons asking the owners to close their establishments. This led to the founding of the National Women's Christian Temperance Union, the oldest continuing non-sectarian women's organization in the world.
Despite repeal of Prohibition, the Women's Christian Temperance Union was still going strong. In National Convention in Washington, they girded to do further battle with the demon rum. They were a vocal minority.
I solemnly promise, God helping me, to abstain from the use of all distilled, fermented, and malt liquors, and that means wine and beer. I don't drink, and I will do all I can to keep you from drinking. I think Prohibition will come back. Amen, amen, amen.
This war against demon rum was personal. Many of these women suffered abuse from their alcoholic husbands and lived in poverty when their men spent all their wages at the saloon. And you better believe women battled up front for this. They would visit saloons asking the owners to shut the place down. And with axes and hatches, they'd go with the method of trashing the place. They'd break open beer kegs, shatter bottles of liquor, and would destroy as much of the stock as possible. And with all this, they were heard. The 18th Amendment was adopted by Congress in August of 1917. 1919, 18th Amendment is ratified. Many people believed Prohibition would cure the country's problem, that the reign of tears would be over. Working men would no longer spend their paychecks at saloons, and factories would not experience loss of labor due to drunkenness. The slums will soon only be a memory. People were forced by federal law enforcement to take out all the alcohol out of their homes. Manufacturers and businesses were closed down and emptied, all to destroy and get rid of the alcohol. As you can see, Prohibition agents have gathered up all the barrels of alcohol and were paid to destroy them. Tanks would run over them, crushing the barrels, letting it all slip and drain. They also emptied many beer bottles by hand. Some even gathered it all up to light it on fire and let it burn. With Prohibition in place, the country's thirst for alcohol was real. They tried looking for alternative sources. The immediate result was speakeasies, which were alcohol-serving clubs that used another business as a front. Many were small operations hidden in basements or back rooms of drug and hardware stores. They also began to make own alcohol, often using their own tub and by filling it with potato peels, sugar, yeast, and water, and letting it ferment for days. Home brewing was so common that by the end of the second year of Prohibition, liquor flowed these speakeasies like water. Bootlegging was supported by both upper and lower classes. Upper classes needed bootleggers to supply their liquor, and lower classes engaged in bootlegging. Modern technology also helped these organized crimes to grow. Automobiles, telephones, and machine guns helped gangsters expand their criminal empires over entire regions. Organized crime gained strength and power, bringing corruption and politics to the point of unstoppable. Gangs had profitable rackets, including bootlegging, gambling, prostitution, protection, and strike-breaking. Al Capone became a popular figure with the general public. He is the most infamous gangster of the era. He became wildly wealthy and was declared the FBI's public enemy #1 in 1927. Capone's empire grew to epic proportions, yet as a corrupt police force became involved, it was nearly impossible to prosecute any of the gang members. They had grown so powerful that people were terrified to make any identifications. As a result, countless cases were lost and many crimes were left unpunished. Corruption in the capital. Washington, D.C. was experiencing too many problems as a result of Prohibition. The conflicts were numerous and the crime rate had skyrocketed. Arrests for drunkenness began with over 3,000 at the beginning of Prohibition and climbed to 9,000 in 5 years. Drunken activity was obvious, even in the Capitol building. Prohibitionists began to realize that they were bound. Years of corruption and controversy had turned the tide against them. On top of crimes and destruction, the stock market crashed in 1929 and sent the nation into a major depression. Many accused Prohibition as a contribution, that it has undermined and weakened the nation's economy. It put millions of men out of work. The onset of depression and its continuing propaganda influenced candidates and its voters' opinions in the presidential election of 1932. 16 days after Roosevelt took office, he signed a bill redefining liquor as being 3.2% alcohol. As of April 7, 1933, real beer would once again be legal. The boost to the economy was immediate. $12 million worth of trucks and $15 million worth of advertising were ordered by breweries. The nation celebrated. The end of Prohibition was surely on its way. On December 5, 1933, Roosevelt signs the proclamation ending Prohibition. Saloons were quickly reopened as taverns, bars, clubs, and cafes, and the liquor trade returned to the hands of the private industries. With a new president in office, the country faced sweeping changes designed to speed economic recovery. Roosevelt's New Deal was put into action. Yet many problems still remained. The failure of Prohibition and the crime and corruption during the era had shattered the faith of people in political leaders and in the judicial and legislative systems. Prohibition was a time of great turmoil in our country's history. This noble experiment failed terribly, highlights the nation's weaknesses, troubles, and conflicts to the world. Only through repeal did recovery begin, allowing the nation's strength to shine once again.